Hi everyone and welcome back to the channel. I am Kirsty and this is Stuck in the Mud. As always, if you're finding my content helpful for your OCD and anxiety recovery journey, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. So in today's video, I really wanted to discuss a little known subtype of OCD, which is something that I have actually experienced, and it's something that I know other people out there might have but don't really understand what it is. So I wanted to really break it down in today's video. And this is when we have a hyper-awareness state of our thoughts, where we're excessively conscious of our mental processes. And this type of OCD, it can also be known as sensorimotor OCD. And this can apply to sounds, physical sensations within the body, bodily functions. That could be blinking, breathing, for example. It could also be visual anomalies like floaters in the eyes, or with our eyes are feeling blurred. And it can also apply to energy levels. And we can become really overwhelmed and distressed over this because we can't seem to disengage with our thoughts, for example, because I'm really focusing on the thought side of things today for this video. And, we can get extremely anxious about it. And, we can have an intense focus on every thought that passes through our mind. And then we can overanalyze and scrutinize every thought that arises in our consciousness. When we experience this type of OCD, we can become so distracted from our daily lives and live in our heads. We become more preoccupied with our thoughts and then can ruminate excessively. We can also experience so much fear and anxiety in response to the contents of our thoughts. And it's really distressing because we just feel like we're constantly on guard of what is going through our head. And that could be, negative thoughts, positive or neutral in nature. It doesn't seem to matter the type of thought. So it could be some distressing, unwanted OCD thoughts, intrusive thoughts like that. Or we could also experience positive ones around anything. And we can just excessively focus on thinking that particular thought. It can be really neutral in nature. It doesn't really have an effect on us in terms of the anxiety and fear of it, but we can feel like we're just so aware of everything that passes through our mind. And I have been in that position. It mainly started for me when I worked with my psychologist with metacognitive therapy, or you can call it detached mindfulness. They mean the same thing. Now, this brought much more awareness to my thinking patterns and what I was actually doing, which is a really good thing. And this is, for me, the best therapy I've done for my OCD and generalized anxiety. But we have to be really careful when we do this, because I often talk in my videos about leaving the thoughts alone. So when we get a distressing, intrusive thought that we don't understand, we don't know why we're thinking this, why am I experiencing this? Why is this going through my head? And we get so involved in it. We pick it apart, we analyze, we ruminate on it, trying to figure it out, come to some kind of certainty about why it's there. And it just won't go away. It just gets stuck. We become so we're just so consumed by it because we're so focused on it that it just won't release, because our brain is thinking, I need to hang on to this because this is obviously important, because they're thinking about it so much that I need to keep it right there. And that's why we get so stuck with OCD. But as in terms of doing therapy, detached mindfulness, I would, I'd have much more awareness over my thinking, because I was like, right, okay, I need to be aware of when these thoughts are entering in, which is good, because having that awareness and insight into our OCD is helpful, because we know when we're getting caught up in things. Whereas before, I could be so far down a thought, it just became second nature to me to think the way I did, just ruminating excessively all day long. But starting this therapy brought a greater awareness to the processes, the unhelpful safety-seeking behaviours I was actually doing, and getting caught up in a thought hooking me into it. And that's great, but the downside is it can then become compulsive to monitor our thoughts and stand on guard, trying to kind of control them, I guess. And that's a compulsion. We're trying to control the situation. And this is what we really want to avoid when we start this kind of therapy, because having awareness is really key, because we need that, because otherwise we can't do anything about it. Thoughts arise in our consciousness. We can't do anything about that. Thoughts happen, the mind, the brain, it generates thoughts every day, thousands of them. We can't do anything about that. But we can do something about the thinking. And this is what is so important about detached mindfulness. We can have any thought is allowed to arise in our mind, but we don't need to jump on it and figure it out. And this is really key when doing this type of therapy, is that we're not overly observing our thoughts, intently focusing on it. We want to have a relaxed awareness over it. And what I mean by that is, you're aware of thoughts just floating, they're floating in and out. And, you might be aware of that, and that's good, because that's what we need to do. We need to be aware when they're coming in. But it's a relaxed way of doing it. We're not bothered by it. We're not judging it. We're having that kind of non-judgmental approach to it. So when I talk about letting thoughts be there, I mean having that relaxed awareness to their presence. We're not engaging with it. We're not trying to figure anything out. We're letting it arise in the mind as an event that happens to us all. And we don't judge it. We just let it hang out for as long as it wants. And this is where it can verge on, we're trying to control everything that pops into our head. We're just letting the thoughts come and go. It's going to take practice, because it's not easy to change our behavior, but this is where it can then turn into an obsession, where we're trying to observe intently everything that pops in our head. And I know how easy it is to slip into that, because that's what happened to me. But now I'm more aware that I can just let these thoughts float in, and it was taking a lot of practice to get to this stage where I am now, where any thought can arise and I can just let it be there. It just hangs out. And it's only when I get caught up in it that I will start to ruminate, and I'll go down, that rabbit hole where I just try and figure it out. Now, this is the thing, we can have so many different thoughts. It doesn't matter the nature of it. If we follow that thought, we're teaching our brain that this is important. It's a threat. We need to hang on to this. We don't want to react to these thoughts. That's the thing. We want to be as passive as possible with them. And this is what I have learned to do as I've gone further on into my recovery journey, is having that kind of non-reactive approach to my thoughts. Even, like I said, when you feel like you're standing guard, we have that resistance to them, because we're like, okay, well, do I need to keep this thought, or do I need to discard it? We have that, there's resistance there. Whereas letting them float in and out is a very different approach, and it's so subtle. It is a very hard thing to describe because, you know, we're not actively engaging, we're not judging it, we're just letting it coexist with us. And it takes time to kind of get to that point that I am at now, where, you know, I know when I'm getting pulled down, I know when I'm getting hooked into a thought, but I'm not acutely aware, you know, all the time. It's just, I know when I'm getting pulled in, and that's the difference. Whereas when we're very obsessive over it and we're standing guard and just, you know, waiting for each thought that comes to our head, it's not the way we want to approach it. It's just letting that coexist and be non-reactive to it. It's difficult because we question a lot that comes in our minds. You know, as humans, this is just natural for us to do so. You know, for more people like ourselves that struggle with OCD and anxiety, it's tenfold. You know, it's very hard because we question a lot just in our nature. You know, this is who we are. This is how we process. You know, we're missing that kind of rational thinking. It just doesn't work the same for us. But we can do something about it because, like I said, thoughts happen. We can't control that. They happen to us. And, you know, you hear a lot of people talk about, well, not thinking, but that is just a human thing to do. You know, we can't not think. And I think when that is our ultimate goal, that we don't want to think at all, it just becomes, like I said, there's some resistance to it. And it's difficult, I get it. You know, letting those thoughts be there, not working them out, not ruminating on it, you know, not trying to be so analytical over it. It's very hard at first, and it is something that you get better at the longer you do it. And when you notice you're getting super hyper focused on everything that you're thinking, you know, it's just having that like relaxed, like I said, non-reactive approach to it. Like, okay, you know, I know what's happening here. I know that I'm getting pulled into my head, and moving forward with your day. Non-judgment and having that kind of non-reactive approach to our thoughts is definitely the best approach I have found, where any thought is allowed with as little involvement as possible. And it's natural for us to think about things. We're human at the end of the day. We can't change that, but we can then know when it's not helpful and when we're getting pulled into it. Because when we have judgment over our thoughts, you know, when we're getting pulled into it, and that's kind of a red flag for me when I'm starting to question everything and it's unsettling and it's distressing. I know I'm already pulled into it, and I can kind of step back and release and be like, okay, that's fine. You know, I got pulled in there. It's okay. I can let it be there and I can move forward with my day. That's going to get so much easier the more consistent we are with it. But don't beat yourself up. You know, be kind to yourself. This is not easy. And, you know, you will get there. You know, I took a long time to get to the point I am now. I'm not saying that's going to be the case for you. I don't feel like I had the supports, you know, many years ago. I feel like there's so much more known about OCD and anxiety and the things that can really help us to function normally in life again. So hang in there. You know, things will get better for you as they have done for me. So I hope this video has been helpful. Let me know in the comments about your thoughts on this subject. Maybe this has affected you. Maybe it's something that you experienced but you didn't actually know there was a subtype of OCD for this. So share away in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.